Welcome to the Bateman Collective podcast. The goal of this podcast, I know this is our first one. The whole purpose of what we're doing here is for our clients, for our partners, real estate investors in this industry. We want to peel back the curtain, show you what's going on inside of our company, what's working right now in digital marketing for real estate investors, and hopefully through all of that, add some serious value. So I'll start out with some introductions. My name is Brandon Bateman, and I'm the founder of Bateman Collective. I've been working in the real estate investment industry with digital marketing for about 4, maybe 5 years now. And with me here is Garret Cragun.
Hello.
Yeah, Garret is probably, in my opinion, the single most talented paid ads marketer that I know. So he heads up that specific side of our product. As a company, we work with PPC for clients, Facebook ads, SEO, and all the stuff for PPC and Facebook ads kind of falls under Garret, and he's making it happen every day with the product improvements and everything. So anyways, that's an intro to you and to me. So I guess we'll get started.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we wanted to start out with a little bit of a nugget, something that we learned with clients recently, and it's about call tracking specifically. So call tracking, everybody is doing it. I think it's a religion in this industry to track your calls because you need to know where your ROI is coming from, all that kind of stuff. I just don't think a lot of people are utilizing it on the level that they could be. So on that, what's your recommendation, Garret? What are you seeing is working really well in call tracking?
Yeah, so I think the key is to have a software that integrates with the ad platforms, integrates with your analytics softwares, and that has the ability to record your calls.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you right there because you just said something that I don't think most people are doing.
Okay.
And you said integrate with the ad platform.
Mm-hmm.
So what most of our clients come into this wanting to do is they have some type of system like CallRail or smartphone, or there's a ton of them. I can't remember all the names, but they have all these different systems. But the way that it works is they give us a phone number for PPC. They basically say, here's your PPC phone number, here's your Facebook ads phone number, and then they can know what came from PPC, what didn't. What's the real advantage? Why do you want to track? Why do you want to actually integrate with the ad platform instead of just being able to say, these are the leads that came from PPC?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So the big benefit to having these softwares pass back information into the ad platform is it helps us see at the ad level, at the keyword level, and even at the audience level what is bringing in the best calls. That way we can change our targeting, our messaging, and our budget allocation to magnify and scale those parts of our account that is working best. If that isn't there, then we kind of have to just guess, and we're blind with knowing where to make our moves and where to pause things and make those changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think if you can bridge that gap between tracking marketing channels and tracking marketing activities within those channels.
Totally.
All of our clients that are operating at the highest level, they don't have a phone number for direct mail. You have a phone number for each direct mail campaign. And honestly, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But as soon as we get into digital marketing, I guess because maybe people aren't as familiar with it. I mean, that's part of the goal of this podcast, right? That's what we're doing here, is telling people how does this work so that they know what to do. But as soon as we get to these online channels, it turns into one of those, we're just tracking it and we're going to see what happens, sort of thing. So yeah, that was number one. Number one thing that I wanted to bring up is call recording. We've had a few experiences with clients recently where we are looking at their numbers, and what we see that's wrong is that their lead conversion's just not where we expect their lead conversion to be. Maybe they're taking far more leads to get to a deal than is typical. And they just say, well, my team's on top of it. I know that they're doing all these different things. Everything's good. The number of people that we've had that conversation with, and then we ask them, just listen to the calls. And they did that, and they were just appalled at what they found. It's a really high number of people.
Totally.
I think it's one of those things you have to do as a business owner or a sales director is always review calls. Because we see that so many of our clients, they're just missing the mark. I was even at Collective Genius, it was last week or the week before, and talking with someone who took their eye off the ball. They were recording calls with their team, they were reviewing them, and then they stopped doing that. And overall, their lead conversion took a major hit over the year. They're hardly profitable as a company right now because their acquisitions team just isn't functioning on a high enough level. And they had great lead conversion before, and everything was fine. But the moment it stopped being measured, it wasn't fine anymore. Yeah. So anyways, huge thing to make sure that you're doing. If you're taking these calls yourself, then good. If you have a team doing this for you, and this applies to any marketing channel, make sure you're listening to recordings, at least on some level. Maybe you listen to them and a whole bunch of them are good and you just assume that everything's good. If that's the case, you can bump down the frequency, but don't give up on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll miss a lot. Perfect. So to jump into the agenda of what we're going to talk about today. So there's a few different things that we want to touch on. The first thing is what's changing in the digital marketing landscape right now. What are we seeing with our clients that we weren't seeing before? I want to talk about different tests that we're running. That's Garrett's domain. He's running these tests to help us improve results, and then kind of what's next in the market. So with that, let's jump right into it. So also a little bit of context. We're going to be doing a few different types of podcast episodes. This is the nerdy one. So if you want like the details, you want to see behind the curtain, you want to know what we're testing, or at least a sample of it, because we could never share everything. This is basically us giving the information that we consider to be most valuable to you. We want to give away all the secrets. We'll sell the implementation, but the secrets are yours to have. But anyways, so if you're into digital marketing, you'll find this really interesting. If this is a little bit too deep for you, then we'll have other things that are a little bit higher level. But first, let's jump straight into it. So what's up in the market right now? What are we seeing with the trends in lead volumes and everything like that?
Yeah. So there are a couple of very interesting things that we've been seeing on our two big platforms, on Google and on Facebook. So historically, Facebook has been very cheap and very high traffic, but the intent hasn't been as high as Google because on Facebook, it's more of a push marketing channel where we take a cold audience and bring them to our business with ads and messaging that they might not be currently in market for, but we can reach them in different ways. And so with it being more push, the intent isn't as high in general as usual. Whereas on Google, because it's people come to us with their questions and their searches, the intent usually is much higher than Facebook. But what we've seen over the last, I don't know, like last month or so, last maybe 60 days, is we've seen the quality of Facebook be higher than usual. And we've seen on Google the inverse, where the intent has changed a bit, where it's still very high quality and very high intent, but it's not. There isn't as big of a chasm between Facebook's intent and and that of Google, and so that's been a very interesting trend the last month or so.
Yeah, I'll ask you the hard question: why?
Great question. I think it's probably a few things. The biggest reason that we think it's happening is because of the market shifts with the economy and the interest rates. On Google, we've seen people that search for our key search terms, but their homes are either already listed or they're more a retail kind of lead, and so the intent is just a bit different since that market change happened. And then Facebook it's interesting because it's hard to gauge the intent there, and so it's a little bit harder to know what's happening there, like, and get that very nailed down. But have you seen anything that might indicate where that came from on Facebook?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the first thing is nobody knows why Facebook does anything, right? Yeah, so we're all just trying to chase this weird company. Because for anybody who's new to this, Facebook is targeting is majority driven by machine learning. So with that, just if you know anything about machine learning and how it works, you know that it's really weird in the sense that the way I like to describe it sometimes is if it veers left, it spirals left. And if it veers right, it spirals right. And the fact that it veered left or right has nothing to do with anything other than just randomness at the beginning, but it really affects its path down the line, because it's really good at predicting based on data, but the initial data set's always going to be different. So to describe why Facebook lead quality is different is tough. We definitely are seeing more on-market leads on PPC. That's about 8% on average right now across the United States. We have some markets. If you're someone who's in these markets like Inland Empire, California, or Boise or Utah or Phoenix, those markets are sometimes pushing as high as 20 or 25% on market leads right now. Other markets are significantly lower. So it's a little bit all over the place, but definitely more on market leads. But I can tell you that the crazy stat that I saw is Facebook, I can't remember the exact number, it's 20 and some change, like 20 point something, is the number of leads to a contract on average across our clients right now on Facebook, which, if you know Facebook historically, it tended to skew closer to the 25 or 30 range. 20 is definitely about as good as we've seen it. And as you can imagine, if the average is 20, there's plenty of companies that are significantly better than that and even have better lead quality on Facebook than Google. So I think that's really interesting for sure to see that shift that's happening in Facebook. Also, for anybody who's listening to this who has done Facebook ads before and has sworn that it's the worst thing that's ever happened to your business, just know that to say that all Facebook leads are created equal wouldn't exactly be true also. I know that a really common practice in this industry is to use forms on Facebook, which is a little bit of a different type of lead quality. It's not the kind that you're going to get 20 leads to a deal with. Why would that be, do you think, Garret?
So there's always going to be an inverse tie between friction and intent and quality. So when an account or a business has their lead form right on Facebook and not on a different page, there's a much lower level of friction to get that lead captured because the name is usually autofilled. The email is often also autofilled, and so the prospect doesn't have to do as much effort to get that form passed over to the business, and that does make each lead cost less. But it often comes at the detriment of quality and intent, where the math doesn't make sense. That even though each lead costs less, the cost per qualified lead is actually higher, and so that's kind of the hidden cost of those kinds of forms is they hurt you in the long game, but they look very nice and juicy in the short term.
Yeah, I completely understand, and I know from personal experience in some industries that it can work really well. In other industries, it doesn't work as well. And my hypothesis is that a lot of it has to do with how niche your audience really is. I think you said something that was insightful that you might not know how insightful it was. And it was that the cost per qualified lead could go up with that kind of marketing. Because a lot of people think I would at least get all the leads I would have gotten. It's just now because there's less friction, I'm going to get more on top of that. What a lot of people don't realize about Facebook, I think, is that Facebook, the way that they target is based on the feedback that we give them. Right. If you look at the difference between Facebook and something like direct mail, the real difference is going to be how does it optimize, how does it find the audience? And those algorithms are actually really, really powerful if you give them the right information. So to belabor the analogy, let's just imagine you were fishing with the wrong kind of bait. Yeah. Let's just say you want a certain kind of fish, but you're using a bait that appeals to a different kind of fish. Then what you're going to get is the wrong kind of fish, and that's going to train Facebook that that's what you want. Sometimes it could even be maybe that bait works for your fish, but it also works for other types of fish. Yeah. You're going to train Facebook that you like all types of fish instead of just that one kind, and then you're not going to end up getting what you want. So every part of it is relevant. I think that part of it is just adding enough friction in the process that those who are truly motivated are the ones that go through. And then the other part of it is all about the creative. You know as well as I do that we have a really strict guideline for creative. We don't like to say a lot of things like highest cash offer or
top dollar.
Yeah, top dollar, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because what you do when you do that is like your actual seller that you want could be interested in that. The problem is it'll also group in people that aren't your seller that you want. And then you risk telling Facebook that these audiences are good, and that degrades your lead quality. So I want to be really clear. You're not just going to get 20 leads per deal on Facebook these days just by throwing an ad out there. There's some things that you want to do. You want to have really highly qualifying creative. You want to have a high friction process for filling out the form. But ultimately, we're seeing pretty good quality at the end of it. We have a lot of clients that are getting better lead quality on Facebook than Google right now, and certainly on average, it's been pretty good. Google still is great quality overall. I mean, you can't beat intent, right? Someone who's searching, you really can't beat that. But I think that you can do better with Facebook than you almost ever have been able to right now, which is really interesting. What do you think? A lot of people are a little bit nervous about Facebook, though, coming into Q4. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's always a lot of weird stuff that happens on Facebook as we get into this last quarter, and that's for a few factors that are very specific to Facebook and like how businesses use that platform. So in this last quarter, there's a big inflow of ad dollars from different groups. The first is from a spike due to the election cycle, where they dump a ton of money in there and they go very, very broad in their targeting, which in general is going to overlap with our targeting as well. And then the other is going to be e-commerce, where as we get into the holidays and Black Friday, businesses pump in a ton of money during that quarter. And what those two things do in tandem is they increase the cost per impression in the platform, because the auction in general is makes each user more sought after on average than in the non-peak parts of the year, and so that there's going to be a natural shift in the market due to like a shift in the environment that is very it's very just unique to that part of the year.
Yeah. The tough thing is those politicians, they live by rules that we don't live by, right? They don't have to be profitable. No. They're just going to spend the money, right?
They have a budget and they just pump it until it's gone, and then until they're elected. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's simple enough. So to shed a little bit of light on my previous experiences with this, it's really mid-November where it seems like things start to get a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Truthfully, there's like a little bit, it seems like through mid-October into November, like things are kind of ramping up. They go crazy at the end of November with Black Friday and all the way through Christmas, and then come like December 26th, ad rates just drop to like a rock bottom.
Yep.
It's crazy how it happens. But overall, I think I had seen something like CPMs close to double during that time period, and I think that's true for a lot of CPMs. I'm sorry, it's a cost per 1,000 impressions. Mm-hmm. They almost double, but in our industry, we've usually seen a 30 or 40% increase. I think part of it is that our audiences don't perfectly overlap with the e-commerce sector.
Right.
In some ways, they do, right? Because anybody's a target for e-commerce, but in other ways, they don't. So what do we do about it in Q4? What's your recommendation to someone who's running Facebook ads? Do you turn it off? Do you lower the budget? What's the strategy?
Yeah, so the beauty of us having experience on two platforms is those market trends aren't as prominent on Google, especially because those ad dollars aren't being pumped as much into paid search as they are into paid social on Facebook and Instagram. And so even though there is going to be a spike on Google of e-commerce, those businesses aren't targeting our keywords. And so those trends that are so prominent and impactful on Facebook aren't on Google. And so what we've advised doing during that time is to shift budget from Facebook to Google and spend more on that platform, we definitely don't advise going all off of Facebook because it can hurt long-term performance if you pause everything there and then go back to it. The learnings that the algorithm has gained over time in general are lost for a short time when ads are paused and then turned back on. And so we advise more of a moderate approach where we just shift some of the budget over to Google to maximize the return on investment and decrease the impact of those market factors that aren't as prevalent on Google.
Mm-hmm. And you definitely, come January, with it being one of the best times for Facebook ads, you want to be able to hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. You don't want to kind of turn off the machine. Some other advice that I would give with Facebook in Q4 is you have to recognize it's just going to be more expensive. That doesn't mean that it's a deal breaker. We have a lot of clients that would say, like, let's just say it costs 40% more per deal. Mm-hmm. They'd still be all over it, right? At the end of the day, if you have a good return on investment, you need leads and you got to feed your team. Right. So I'd say, like, a lot of people will hold steady in Q4, and then some. I think allocating to Google at least a little bit is a smart decision as well. You can also kind of monitor things as they go along. You can see where does that CPM really land. The good thing about CPMs is it doesn't take 2 months to measure a CPM.
Right.
You can measure a CPM every single day because you'll have thousands for your sample size every single day. Yeah. So it's not like one of those things where you kind of you have to, like, roll it out over a long period of time. So anyways, I think doubling down on Google's a good move, though. So next, let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the market winning for different tests that we're doing. Mm-hmm. A little bit of context for everybody. We put a bunch of focus into testing as a company. I think there's a lot of people out there who kind of have this mindset of, I figured out what works, mm-hmm. and now I'm continuing to do that. I think the company that is going to produce the best results is not the company that figured something out at some point and now they're just doing that. It's the company that's constantly improving just a little bit better every day. Yeah. It's that continued experimentation that makes a difference. So that's why we're talking about this on a monthly basis. What are some of the things that we've tested? And honestly, because of the volume that we do this at, you know this as well as I do, Garret, that our research and development roadmap has quite a bit of things in it. We're just going to talk about some of the highlights. Like, what are we really finding, and especially things that have implications for those that could be listening. So the first thing that I noted that was something that we're working with recently is a little bit of a change to our forms. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what we've noticed is the biggest lever we can pull to impact the cost per lead and the lead quality is on the page that a user is sent to. That's called a landing page. So that's where everyone ends up. And so if we can maximize how effective that page is, that is in general the biggest place we can test to really impact performance. And so one test that we've been running recently is on our form. And in general, forms are approached the same by everyone, and that's get it's just one block, get the name, the email, and the address and number, and just hope that you see the highest number of submissions as possible. But what we have found is it's very effective to have that form be a little bit smarter than just one block. And so we've built out a form that allows us to do much more than the average form is. And this form helps us with a few things. The first one is it checks the IP address of the user. And if they aren't in our target location or our target country, it won't that user won't be able to go through to the next part of the form. It also looks at the address that they give and the phone number they give and make sure that those are both working and accurate and valid. And if they aren't, again, they're blocked from going through. And the benefit of having that happen at the level of the form is like what you were saying, is if we give Facebook bad input, it's going to give us bad output. So if we can control what input it gets as far as what counts as a lead, it's going to know what kinds of people to target. So by bringing in better data, it helps the platforms know who is our ideal candidate. And so that's where we've seen the most benefit from this new form type, is it helps us to control the rate of spam and of out of market leads that we're getting, which is obviously a huge pain point in the market, is bad leads and leads that we can't serve.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add a little bit of what I'm excited about for this, so we previously had phone number validation, but it would make sure like it's this number of digits and it fits this format and stuff like this. It's my understanding that we've actually put a custom API into this new form, so we can actually scrub against like a list of real numbers to make sure that this works. So I think that's really cool. Just know not all phone number validation is created equal. Yeah. The other thing being, we can actually selectively choose what we're reporting to ad platforms. So a good example would be like the IP addresses. If they fall outside the area, we could also still let the lead come through because it could be okay, but we only report to Facebook or to Google that it was a lead if the IP address was in the area. So what that allows us to do is, based on different conditionals, we can tell Facebook and Google that it's a quality lead or that it's not. And that opens up a whole new level of optimization, because we're giving that quality feedback. I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful these algorithms are. Yeah. You take Google that has how many data points per user? It's something ridiculous.
It's lots of zeros. Yeah.
I know with Google it's a ridiculous number. Facebook's like 2,000 something. Yeah. Which is a little bit less ridiculous, but still, let's be honest, that's ridiculous.
That's right? Scary, honestly.
Yeah, most of the targeting that people are doing in this industry in like mail or cold call or something like that, like if you have like 10 points of data, like 10 lists that someone's on or something like that, like that's insane, great, yeah. Right? Thousands is just on a different level. They know just how to get you what you want if you can tell them really clearly what you want. That's where we go wrong sometimes, is they give us a bad lead and we say, thank you.
Exactly.
And they learn, well, that's what we want, right? I also have some data here. It looks like we're still pretty early because the flow on this form is a little bit different too. I think it's a little bit more user-friendly. But despite that additional validation, we're still getting lead costs that are about 10 to 15% lower with the new form. So that's early stage data. You guys are hearing this kind of as we're experimenting with it, but consistent quality with a little bit of a decrease in cost per lead, I think is great. Next up here, I had another thing that we're working with called Form Reactor, which nobody's going to know what that is, so you have to explain. But what's going on with that?
Yeah, so a big pain point with forms is it's so important to contact that lead as fast as possible. Data has found that that reaching out to a lead after 30 minutes shows a decrease in contact rate by about 21 times. When we look at that happening in under half an hour. So it's so important to get in touch quickly, within minutes, preferably. And so go ahead.
Sorry, I just have to say something, because we've actually measured this some across our clients, and our advice to clients is usually 60 seconds as your benchmark, because it's insane. We measured all of our clients that have 5 minutes before they get to leads, compared to those that do it in 60 seconds on average, and the difference there is even bigger than you'd think it is. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's like almost all. So we have a group of clients that closes at the highest rate, that we interview, learn everything from their teams, all that kind of stuff, and almost every single company that's in that top 10% of closers, they get to leads within 60 seconds. So it's insane. Like all the people who are doing it the best, it's they're extremely fast.
Yeah, it's super important. So what we've built built out is an automation where the instant a form is completed, our system calls the agent of the company, and when they press 1 on their phone, it then calls that lead instantly. So the instant that prospect says, yeah, I'd like a cash offer, they're put in touch instantly with an agent. So there's no phone tag. There's no hoping the agent answers. When they answer, they always get right in touch with the prospect, and so that really helps to decrease that lag and decrease the risk of that prospect going to the next result on Google, doing that form there, and then getting a faster call from that seller than you or that buyer than you. So
yeah,
it's very effective.
Yeah, you know what I love about this is I think it's really good for accountability within a company because you either answer the phone call or you don't. Right. Yeah. There's not, like with the phone call, there's not a lot of gray area. There's not like a 45 seconds versus 15 seconds to get to leads. It's harder to measure how long it is till you get to a lead. If you can turn every single lead into an inbound phone call, it's simple. Did you answer the phone or not?
Yep.
And if you answer the phone, that's good. And you'll always get to leads within 30 seconds. Yeah. If you don't answer the phone, then that's bad, right? Yeah. It's super easy to hold your team accountable to this. Yeah. You can have a live answer rate. And our clients that do really well with this, they're hitting above 95% for their live answer rate. So that's something that I think is really interesting. The other thing is, especially with bigger teams, sometimes there's a lot of confusion because if you do round robin with your leads, so when they're coming in, you have it go to one of 4 agents, for example, and then you lose a lot of urgency because maybe that person's in an appointment or whatever the case is. So you want them to go to all of your agents. The problem is if they go to all of your agents, then everybody's wondering, is that other guy calling them right now? If they're not just all sitting in a room together, the communication's tough. Sometimes you'll see some like Slack or text messages back and forth, like, did you call this person? This kind of stuff, which adds a little bit of inefficiency. This is really great because you can call all of those agents simultaneously if you can route your phone numbers accordingly. And with that, it's really clear whose lead it is. Who answers the phone first?
Press 1, it's yours. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Super easy.
So that's awesome. So far, clients seem to be raving about it.
They love it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's good news. If you are working with us and you want to get that set up, just reach out to your account strategist, and we can definitely do that while we're in this initial testing period with that. The other thing that was a pretty big win this month was landing page split testing. We made some big strides there. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a software that lets us test one change in our pages across all of our clients. And so we can learn within days what would take months or quite a long time if it was done within one page.
Over a year on average.
Yeah,
I calculated
it would take so long.
Yes.
And with the software, we can make one change and see how it impacts everyone at one time. And we did one small test this last month where we took one paragraph that was like 50 words, and we took out all the fluff words, all the adverbs, and make it and just made it simple down to like 35 words. And just that one test of making the copy simple to understand and clear bumped up our click to lead rate by about 18%. And that sounds not huge on the surface, but when that's per lead, that brings down how much you're paying per lead, brings up your margin and your profit possibly with just that one small change, because we haven't seen a change in the quality of those leads, and so it's just bringing down the cost for the same lead with just one change. And so we have been doing those same kinds of tests across all of our pages with that same software. And so we're always learning what buttons, what images, what text, what sections to have where in the page, and over time we can fine tune and make the perfect landing page, and keep bringing up those rates and that efficiency over time. So that's very powerful too.
Yeah, I think it's just one example of a win. If I remember right, we did maybe 5 or 6 tests probably in the past month that, and wins on several of them. So I just want to just make sure that you don't gloss over what Garret said here. That's really cool. Like, we're literally changing hundreds of pages at the same time, and this is like genuine A/B testing, just so we're clear. It's not like we just changed this and after that we saw that things were better or something, which in my experience is how most testing is done in this industry, and it drives me crazy because that's just not how you test.
Yeah.
You have to do variant A and variant B at the same time. You have to get statistical significance between variant A and variant B, which is so hard because literally it takes over a year on average for companies in this industry to even have that.
Yeah.
And the reason that takes so long is because every change you make on a landing page affects your lead quality. So that's the other thing that we can do here is actually measure downstream, are those leads more or less qualified? And you mentioned that. So if you're actually measuring on that, if you're measuring, like, for example, is this page or that page more likely to generate a qualified lead? It takes a lot of data to actually have enough to say that this variant works better than that other one. So anyways, I think there's definitely some good movement there, and yeah, anybody who's checking our landing pages will notice a few little things tweaking over time. So that's just a few of the bigger movements on our research and development team over the past month. I hope you guys find some value in this. And any last words, Garrett, before we close things out?
No, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.